Hello everyone, and welcome back. Now for the 122nd episode, we are going to discuss about the infamous cannibal known as Hannibal Lecter, the titular main antagonist of the Hannibal franchise. One of the two most iconic cannibals in pop culture, alongside Leatherface, Hannibal Lecter is definitely one of the most iconic cinematic villains to date, as well as one of the most realistic ones. And from all the four actors who portrayed him, I want to give my personal compliments to Anthony Hopkins, who has done an outstanding job in portraying him, especially in the iconic 1991 film, The Silence of the Lambs. And now, in this episode, we are going to analyze all that we know about him from the books and the movies. Hannibal Rising, The Red Dragon, The Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal, to understand Hannibal Lecter and how he became this way to begin with. And now, let's begin. Hannibal Lecter VIII was born in 1933 in Lithuania to his parents Count Hannibal Lecter VII and Madame Simonetta. And growing up, he also had a younger sister, Misha, who he dearly loved and cherished. And pretty much he had a pretty good and normal childhood. His parents loved him, he and his younger sister were close to one another, and things were pretty good. However, as World War II started in 1939 and the Soviet Union has annexed Lithuania, soon the Nazi Germany invaded the country as part of Operation Barbarossa against the USSR, and the Nazis have bombed his castle and killed his parents in the process, and took him and Misha as hostages. And soon, by 1945, as the Nazis were losing the war, the remaining Nazis that captured him and his sister were starving, and they killed Misha and ate her remains and even forced him to eat her remains as well, something that traumatized him for life and kickstarted his cannibalistic orgies later on. And after he escaped, he was taken on by his uncle, Robert Lecter, and his wife, Lady Murasaki, in France, when they officially continued to raise him and cherished him as much as their own child. And soon he officially managed to excel in his studies in psychology, and his uncle sadly passed away to the heart attack. And by 1956, as he officially finished his studies, Hannibal went back to Lithuania in order to confront and kill all the monsters that were responsible for his sister's death. The remaining Nazis who survived World War II and even were hiding out there officially managed to murder all of them and avenged his torment as well as Misha's death. And soon afterwards, by the 1960s, he officially moved into the United States, in Baltimore, Maryland specifically, where he became a renowned psychologist. But sadly, he couldn't keep his cannibalistic urges any longer, and thus he eventually became a cannibalistic serial killer throughout the 60s and the 70s, as he killed at least 9 people and he tried to kill 3 others. And soon by 1975, he has been captured by the FBI and put into prison, where he was meant to stay there for the rest of his life, and all of this has earned him the moniker as Hannibal the Cannibal. But soon, by the 1980s, an opportunity has arisen for him to escape in the young FBI trainee Clarice Sterling, who came to his help to use his psychological knowledge to help her to hunt down the serial killer Buffalo Bill. And of course, Hannibal has grown completely attached or fond of Clarice, and thus he gave her insights about anything she wants to know about Buffalo Bill in exchange for memories from her childhood. And thus, in tandem with an attempt to negotiate some sort of a deal in which he will give more info, including for the senator whose daughter was kidnapped by Buffalo Bill in exchange for his freedom, or at least to be transported into another more pleasant facility. And of course, Hannibal managed to use all of this to his advantage, and he managed to in the end to escape from the police and proceeds to escape from the United States as a whole. And as Clarice managed to defeat Buffalo Bill, Hannibal has called her and congratulated her before he officially left the USA. And now, 7 years later, now by 1987, Hannibal has been found in Italy, where he's been hiding, and now he's hunted once again by the CIA, as Clarice Sterling also come to be after him, in tandem with himself being now chased by a former victim, Mason Ledger, a former victim that managed to survive him but got mutilated and now seeks to kill Hannibal Lecter as revenge for what he did to him. And now, before we continue, we will now stop and ask ourselves, is Hannibal evil? And the reason why I'm asking this is because, while it's an absolutely undeniable fact that he is an evil monster, it should be noted here that he, without a doubt, is a tragic one, as he loved his parents, he loved his sister, her, and the trauma of losing her, and the whole trauma of World War II in general was the main reasons why he became this way. In tandem with the fact that he was literally forced to eat her remains, they kick-started his cannibalistic urges to begin with. However, even with all of this, this is not an excuse for him to become a monster. And while it's an undeniable fact that he was kind of made this way by the other monsters who terrorized him, he himself has become something absolutely scary in many ways. But still, even as a villain, he still has honor and manners. As he does care about Clarice Starling, he refuses to kill her. And as the answer is still pretty much yes, Hannibal Lecter is evil, and he's pretty close on being pure evil. And in the end, he managed to escape from everything. He managed to escape from his old former victim, from the CIA, and he and Clarice are together and became lovers. It's absolutely unknown what's happened with him afterwards. But now, in the 2020s, if Hannibal is still alive, he will be in his 90s by now. So, who knows? So in the end, who was, or possibly who is Hannibal Lecter? He is nothing more but a simple man who went through a whole life of pain, trauma, and loss. A man that will become a monster much worse than his captors and will pretty much spread death and misery everywhere he goes. A monster that will still have some bit of morality and empathy left in him and will do anything in order to protect the ones that he still cares about. And a monster that could easily be called as one of the most iconic villains ever made in cinema. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and have a nice day.
Starling.
Well, Clarice, have the lambs stopped screaming?